Hi there, and welcome to the Salted Pepper, where we cook for real life, using real food, and we keep it real simple. And today we are going to make a delicious side dish, candied Brussels sprouts with bacon. Of course, bacon makes everything better, doesn't it? So anyway, this is a really quick and easy side dish that you can make at home. What I have here is 20 ounces of Brussels sprouts, but of course you could cut that back as well. To 10, that would be fine. So if you're just making 4 servings, use 10 ounces of Brussels sprouts. If you want more servings, obviously increase the amount of Brussels sprouts. What I have here also is 4 pieces of thick cut applewood smoked bacon. You could use any type of bacon that you like. You can even use thinly sliced bacon if you'd like, but I find that the thicker cut bacon does just a little bit better with this marinade, and when we crisp it up, it really adds this great texture and flavor to our Brussels sprout dish. So the first thing I'm going to do is work on the marinade, which is really super easy. It is a 1/4 cup of brown sugar that is packed, 1/4 cup of balsamic vinegar, and this is the vinegar, not the glaze. If you had the glaze and you wanted to use it, you could do that. Just use, I would say, 2 parts of the glaze and 2 parts water, and that will get the right consistency for you. And then I'm going to use Grey Poupon Country Dijon mustard. Now, if you can't find this, because sometimes people have said they've had trouble finding it, you can use any type of a Dijon mustard that you like. And I'm going to use just 1 tablespoon here and put that in. Then we mix it up. I'm going to use about half of this marinade to marinate the bacon, maybe even 3/4 of it. I'll make that decision when I get the bacon cut up and into the bag. And then I'm going to reserve the rest for sort of glazing over the Brussels sprouts towards the end. All right, that's perfect. It smells good. This marinade is the same marinade that I use, well, glaze. I should say glaze because on this recipe that I'm about to tell you about, it's a glaze, not marinade, and it is for corned beef and cabbage. And if you haven't tried that, it is absolutely delicious, and I will link to that video right up there. So this is the same exact glaze that I use in that recipe. I also use this to candy bacon. So you could use this just to candy your bacon, and that is delicious as well. All right, so let's get a sharp knife. Now this bacon was in the refrigerator just until just a few minutes ago. It is much easier to cut your bacon when it is cold, so I do not recommend bringing it out of the refrigerator ahead of time. And for this recipe, we are going to cut it into bite-sized pieces. And bacon can be a little bit tough sometimes to cut up, even with a sharp knife. It kind of a little harder than other things. But you can see I'm just making them into little pieces here. And I have all 4 of the bacon slices together just to make it a little bit easier to cut. Some of it's giving me a little bit of a fit here, really. But it's even worse if it's room temperature, so make sure it's cold when you do this. All right, that's good. All right, and then what I'm going to do is just kind of separate these pieces a little bit so that they all get marinated. And we're going to put it into a bag, and we're going to pour over the marinade or glaze until it covers the bacon. We'll seal the bag and we'll put it in the refrigerator for at least 4 hours. Now you could also do this the day before and let it marinate overnight. I've even left it in up to a couple of days, but any more than that, it seems to break down the bacon quite a bit and you have a hard time getting it crispy. All right, so there, all the bacon is now separated, and I'm gonna really quick wash my hands. We're gonna get the bacon into the bag, and then we'll get the marinade or glaze poured over. All right, so let's get the bacon pieces into the Ziploc bag. Now, you don't have to use a Ziploc bag. You could use any kind of container, that's fine. I like to use a Ziploc bag, though, because I can squeeze the air out, and that allows you to use less of the marinade to cover the bacon because, you can squeeze the air out, like I said. So it makes it a little bit easier, in my opinion. And then, of course, you just throw it away. So what I do is I just put the bacon down at the bottom. And then just give this another little stir in case anything has settled. It smells so good. This is such an incredible glaze or marinade. This would be great on all kinds of things too, like even chicken breast or pork chops. Oh my gosh, it'd be so good. All right, so that looks good. So now I'm gonna squeeze this sealed until I get almost all the way. And then what I do here, let me move this so I can show you. So I take it and I just fold it until I start to push the air out. All right, perfect. Now all the bacon is in the marinade. It's all equally covered, and we can just pop this in the refrigerator for 4 hours. I'll put a cover on this, and we will use that also at the end to glaze the Brussels sprouts. So after that's marinated, we'll be back and we'll make up our candied Brussels sprouts. All right, so our bacon has been marinating in the refrigerator for about 4 hours. Now you can do this ahead of time as well. You can put it in there overnight or even for a couple of days, but don't go too much longer than that because it does start to break down the bacon. Usually 4 hours to 24 hours is what I would recommend. All right, so that is just gonna come to room temperature. That's gonna help it crisp up a little bit quicker for us. And then we have our Brussels sprouts. This is 20 ounces of Brussels sprouts, so you could certainly cut this recipe in half. That is no problem. You could use 10 ounces. So I've already rinsed the Brussels sprouts, and now I just want to prepare them to go under pressure. And I'm gonna just cut off the end, and then I like to peel the outside layers where they're a little darker. And we're gonna keep them whole for this recipe. So that's all you need to do. Now, if you wanted to cut them in half, you could, but I would recommend steaming them and not pressure cooking them because they will get too soft. So I have 1 cup of just tap water, room temperature tap water, and the basket. I'm gonna put the basket in the inner pot with the liquid in the bottom, and then I'm just gonna toss in my Brussels sprouts as I prepare them by taking the stem off and peeling out the outside leaves. So I will do this for the rest of the Brussels sprouts, and then what we will do is go under pressure for 0 minutes. That means that you select the pressure function on high, but when it comes to the time, you just take it down to 0. So these Brussels sprouts will soften in the time it takes to come to pressure, so we don't actually go to any countdown of pressure cooking. Now, if you like your Brussels sprouts on the softer side, I would say pressure cook them for about 1 minute. But this gives a really nice firm Brussels sprout that's just started to cook, and that way we can crisp it up and finish it up with the bacon and not overcook the Brussels sprouts. So this is perfect for the way I like my Brussels sprouts, but everybody is different, so feel free to adjust the timing as you see fit. You don't want to plan on too much of the air crisp timing because what happens is the bacon will burn and the outside of the Brussels sprouts will burn. All right, so all the Brussels sprouts are finished up here and they are in the basket whole. And then we're gonna put the pressure lid on. We're gonna go to seal just like we're pressure cooking. Turn the Ninja Foodi on. We're gonna go to pressure, high is what we want. And then take your time down to 0 minutes. Hit start, probably takes somewhere around 5 minutes for the pot to come to pressure. Then when it comes up to pressure and would ordinarily start the countdown, it's just gonna say done. And then we can do an immediate release. All right, I'm hearing everything really boiling, well, the liquid in the bottom, the water really boiling. A lot of steam is coming out. That is perfectly normal. I expect any second now for that red button to pop up. And then it might take another minute. I'm not sure how long it'll take, but another minute. And then you will see this display pop up 00 and then done. Any second now, we are definitely gonna see that button pop up. And there it went. So now it'll probably just take a few more seconds, up to a minute, for the countdown to go to 0, 0, and then done. All right, that's it. 0, 0, and done. Now we can do an immediate release to release the pressure. All right, the red button has depressed, and that means we can open up the lid. Do that away from you so that you don't get bombarded with steam. These Brussels sprouts look amazing. They are vibrant and green, and I love that. I love doing a really short pressure cook or steam on Brussels sprouts. I think they just end up gorgeous. It's the equivalent of really blanching them. So if you steam them, it's just like blanching. If you pressure cook them for 0 minutes, it's like blanching, power blanching, let's put it that way. All right, so there we go. I'm just gonna set these over to the side, and yes, they're gonna drain on my countertop a little bit. That's okay, I will clean it up. But you could just put a towel down or put it on your cutting board or something. So I'm just gonna leave those here. What I need to do now is empty this pot because we're gonna start to saute our bacon to get it started to crisp. We don't have to crisp it totally, but we just wanna get it started a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and dump this water, and then we'll get to sauteing the bacon. All right, so I had my bacon that I had previously cut up, as you know, marinating in the refrigerator for several hours, and I decided to put it in a plastic bag because it's just easier. But you can put it in any container you want as long as it's covered. And now we're gonna get it onto the sear saute. So I'm gonna hit the sear saute and hit it, start it on high. The pot's already hot, so we don't really have to let it heat up that much, but maybe about a minute or so. And then I will put this bacon in and we will start to crisp it up and render the fat. Now, you might wonder why I didn't just put the Brussels sprouts back in and pour this over top and start to crisp them up that way. Well, I tried that, and what happened is by the time the bacon was cooked all the way you would want it, the Brussels sprouts were really burning on the outside. Because remember, this has sugar in it, brown sugar, so that will like give that burned effect to the Brussels sprouts on the outside. So I decided that what I'm gonna do is just saute it for a few minutes and then I'll scoop it out. It is another extra step. It's not totally necessary. As long as you stand right here and really watch your Brussels sprouts, you should be able to pour this right in and then go from there. But for me, I don't wanna risk burning them again. They were good though, even burnt, they were good. So I'm gonna saute them just for a few minutes. And I think we're ready to dump it in now. So, and I'm gonna use the marinade too. It's gonna make it a little bit harder to clean the pot, but you know, that's the beauty of this non-stick pot. It's really, no matter what you put in there, it's not hard to clean. And then I just wanna get the bacon moved around in the pot so it's in a flat layer as much as possible. So what's gonna happen now is the heat is going to heat up the marinade, kind of burn that off. It becomes really like sticky and gooey, which is what you want for candied bacon. And we're gonna start to render the fat and also cook the bacon a little bit. So in the meantime, let me just show you the texture of these Brussels sprouts. I'm just gonna pull one out here so that you can see. So Brussels sprouts are like little cabbages, but this 1 minute pressure cook, I'm sorry, this 0 minute pressure cook is absolutely perfect for a nice firm Brussels sprout that you want to crisp up at the end. So if you are making these anyway, you make them with candied bacon like I'm doing or not, that's a good idea to get them started. Otherwise, the outside tends to burn. If you just go straight to air crisp, the outside tends to burn before you get the center cooked. The other thing you can do is cut them like this if you want to saute them, and they will cook a little bit more evenly if you want to air fry them or broil them. But this is exactly the texture that I want. They're firm, but they are slightly cooked. Oh, they're good too. I love Brussels sprouts. Absolutely love them. Some people don't. I totally get that. I love them. If you're watching this video, you probably like them though, because I hardly think that you'd be watching if you didn't like Brussels sprouts. Delicious. Now, I'm not going to waste this. I'm throwing it in. I'll probably eat that though as a snack. All right, so let's move our bacon around. I can see some of the strips browning up. Now, it's really difficult to tell when the bacon is done just because of the color of the marinade that is already soaked in. So you really can't tell. You just use your judgment. I'll wait till most of this liquid is burned off, and then we will put it into a little bowl, and we'll pour it over our Brussels sprouts when we air crisp. All right, let's stir them again. All right, now this is starting to really darken up, and I'm gonna go ahead and get the bacon pieces out now. What I can see is that the marinade has sort of dissolved, and what we're left with is bacon fat on the bottom. I'm not gonna worry about getting that, although it would be delicious too. And as a matter of fact, you know, that'll probably help with the Brussels sprouts, so I am gonna get it out. Oh my gosh, it looks so good. All right, let me grab my spoon and let's pull this partially cooked bacon out. Oh, goodness. So good. So delicious. All right, so what I'm gonna do is go ahead and rinse the pot. The reason I'm doing that, you don't have to. It's not necessary, but I'm going to, just because I don't want this stuff when we go under a broiler air crisp. I don't want this stuff to really kind of set into the pot. It just makes it a little bit harder to clean. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean it out now. And then we'll be back and we will broil up our Brussels sprouts. I keep saying air fry. You can do air fry too. I just use broil a lot because it's a hotter function and we're gonna get more of the browning on the outside of the Brussels sprouts. So that's my choice, but you could certainly air fry on 400 as well. All right, so I just rinsed out the pot. There's some water in the bottom and not gonna matter because I'm gonna go ahead and preheat now. You wanna preheat on broil for 10 minutes. 5 to 10 minutes is really okay. I'll probably just go 5 this time just to move things along a little bit quicker. So we will put in our basket of Brussels sprouts after the preheat is done. We will pour over our bacon. We will also start to pour over the remaining marinade that we saved. So I'll pour on a little bit and then we'll broil for a few minutes, toss it around, pour on a little bit more, broil again until we get the Brussels sprouts crisped up and candied with this marinade. It's delicious. I did another recipe with this marinade as well that, oh my gosh, it was so good. I marinated full bacon strips and then cooked them up in the Ninja Foodi and then dipped them in chocolate. And that was an amazing, amazing treat with vanilla ice cream. So I have a video on that and I will link to it right up there for you guys. Okay, so it's been a little over 5 minutes. That's all I'm gonna do for this recipe. It'll be fine. Baking is a little bit differently and you do want a full 10-minute preheat on most baked goods that you make, but for this, it'll be fine. I can see my pot still has some of the residue from when we did the bacon, but that's gonna be fine. All right, so put the Brussels sprouts back in. We're gonna pour over the bacon. Let's get every last little bit off because I'm telling you, this stuff is so good. All right, now I just want to toss these around a little bit to kind of get the bacon distributed, some on the bottom, some on the top. Now the air frying basket does a really great job of heating from underneath and on top. So the stuff on the bottom will get brown and crispy and the stuff on the top. But the things in the middle, you do have to toss around so that you change the location. So move the Brussels sprouts and the bacon from the bottom up to the top, and we'll do that periodically throughout. Now let me get a spoon here real quick and just mix this up because it could have settled a little bit. And we just have like maybe a couple tablespoons of this, so we want to be a little bit cautious. We don't want to pour it all on at once, but I will take this over and just pour it right on top, just drizzle it over, and then get the tender crisp lid down, back on the broil. Let's increase the time to 15 minutes. And what I'm gonna do is check it every 2 minutes, toss it around, and then apply some more of the glaze, which you'll notice will get really thick and sticky, and the Brussels sprouts will start to brown up. And then we're done, and then we get to taste them, and that's the best part, always. All right, so it's been just about 2 minutes, so let's give a little peek here. Just toss them around. I'm not gonna add any more of the marinade quite yet. It's got a nice coating on the Brussels sprouts, and I wanna get that cooked up and browned up first. So I think we can probably go another 3 minutes. I think that was pushing it a little bit. It hadn't really had time to start to brown up, so I'm gonna go another 2.5 minutes to 3 minutes. So when we get to between 10 and 9 minutes, I'll toss them again. All right, so let's take a peek here. Give it another toss around. I love to hear it sizzle. I'm starting to see some browning on the Brussels sprouts, so that's great, but we still have a ways to go. I'm gonna go ahead and just take a little bit more of this and just drizzle it over. Now you could do this in the inner pot as well, which would keep all of the juices, from draining through the basket. But it's also further away from the heating element, and so it would take longer to get them browned. All right, so let's take a peek again. I'm starting to smell the Brussels sprouts, and oh yeah, they are starting to brown up nicely. You can see the outer edges here getting nice and crispy. That's exactly what we want to see. I'm just gonna toss this around again. Pour a little bit more on. Oh boy, these are so good. All right, let's do a little bit more and go back down. All right, let's take a look and see what we got. Oh, goodness gracious, yes. They are really starting to brown up. Looks so good. I'm gonna go ahead and pull one of these bigger ones out and just see what the texture is like. I think we need to go just a little bit longer, but they are looking and smelling so good. That's my favorite part, the little leaves that come off. Oh my gosh. And then they really get crispy. That's my favorite part. Pour some more on here. I might actually suggest making a little bit more of the marinade, which I could do really quick. It's so simple. It's 3 ingredients. To just have a little bit more just in case you need it. All right, so let's see what kind of texture we have. Now we want them a little bit softer, but not mushy. They're looking good. They're looking good. So they're not too mushy. They look really, really good. I'm cheating. They're still a little firm though. Oh my. These are so good. They are so good, but they are not quite ready. So we're gonna go a little bit longer. This just use your judgment with, because everybody likes their Brussels sprouts cooked differently. If you like them on the firmer side, they are done. If you like them a little bit softer, they are not done. So just keep going. If you think the bacon is burning or the glaze is burning, drop your heat down and go a little bit longer. So just make those adjustments as you go. I'm gonna put a few more minutes on the timer because I don't think we're gonna be quite done. And I may go ahead and mix up some more of that marinade. I don't know. I'm on the fence because I think that they need a little bit more of it. All right, I did make up a little bit more, but just a half of the original recipe, so not too much more. And these are looking so good. We are almost done. They just look beautiful. Really, really beautiful. So what I'm gonna do is go ahead and put on the rest. They're sticky, that's why it sticks to the tongs. I'm gonna put on the rest of marinade, or maybe not all of it, because we're gonna probably continue to go just a little bit longer. Oh, I did put all of it. A lot of it drops down too, because we're using the basket. So all right, let's go just for 2 more minutes and then we will be done. So that would have been a total of about 17 minutes or so. But use your judgment, you know, make them to the texture and the color that you want. I don't want to go too much longer because I don't want them to look like they're really, really dark or burned. But they're not burned, they're just caramelized, honestly. All right, I sort of lost track of time. I'm not sure how much longer they've been in there, but I really smell them now cooking, and so I want to take a peek. And you know what? I think they're done. I don't want to go any further because I do not want them to burn or look too overdone. So let's go ahead and get them out into our dish here. Break up the bacon a little bit so you can get that with the Brussels sprouts a little bit easier. Oh my gosh, this looks so good. Now, if this isn't enough bacon for you, you could certainly double the amount of the bacon. So there's no rules to this recipe. There's no exact measurements. Do it however you like it. But the flavors are amazing. Look at that. And it's beautiful. Now, if we went much longer, the Brussels sprouts would just turn so dark. It probably would not look too appealing, but it would still taste delicious. Oops, I dropped some. Yummy, yummy, yummy. Now the bacon is going to look really, really dark. And it doesn't like get really crunchy until it cools off a little bit, and then it will crunch up, but not like you're just eating a piece of crispy bacon. It's a little bit different because it's got the sugar marinade on it. All right, that looks great. Yummy. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and taste them. Close this. And you know what you want to do? Let me say this real quick. You want to get this pot soaking right away so that that sticky sugar doesn't get stuck onto your pot. Although it doesn't really get stuck, but you want to get it in and it'll just make it easier to clean up. All right. I don't have that luxury though because we need to keep going with the video. All right, so let's get some of this bacon and a Brussels sprout. Oh, yum. So good. And I'm just trying to see, that's one little Brussels sprout. I want to get a bigger one so I can tell you the difference. I love these little leaves that fall off of the Brussels sprouts because they get so super, super crunchy. Oh my gosh. That had a little piece of bacon with it. Perfect. Yummy. All right, so let's see how they cut. I know the little one's gonna cut well. Yeah, the little one's cut. Now you can see that the center's cooked as well. So they are cooked completely, but they are not mushy. So again, if you like your Brussels sprouts softer, please cook them a little bit longer, but lower the heat so they don't burn. They're perfect. They are soft enough, really. They're a little softer than I usually like, but they taste good. Man. Oh my goodness. This is so good. And a little different, you know, something a little different. I like to make things that are different. All right, let's get a piece of the bacon. The bacon is starting to now get crispy. I'm chasing this Brussels sprout around the plate. The bacon's starting to get crispy now, so oh, that is perfect. It's smoky, it's sweet. The Brussels sprouts are cooked really, really well. I'm in love with this dish. I think I say that all the time. I'm in love with this dish. Well, I don't put out recipes unless I love them. So definitely give this one a try. It's so fantastic. I might add a touch of salt. I didn't call for salt and pepper in this because obviously the bacon has enough salt in it. I might add a little bit of salt. It could use that little boost of flavor, I think, on the Brussels sprouts themselves. So I think I would advise you to do that, but you can salt after the fact to taste. For me, these candied Brussels sprouts are absolutely perfect, but you can use my suggestions to cook the Brussels sprouts to your desired texture and doneness. You can also add more marinade, less marinade. You can add a little salt, add a little pepper, add a little hot pepper if you want. You can definitely make this any way you want it. Make it delicious and make it yours.